A successful businessman discovers his girlfriend's infidelity on Christmas Eve. Distraught, he wanders the snowy streets of New York and is nearly hit by a car. A beautiful, long blonde hair, 25 years old, slim fitness build, North American woman saves him and invites him to spend the night together. They share Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and over those nights he falls in love. He asks her to move into his mansion and marry him. Chapter 1. The Discovery. I had built my life around certainty. Meetings, schedules, deals, all predictable, measurable. That Christmas Eve I came home early from the office with a briefcase full of last-minute gifts and a head full of plans. The apartment smelled of pine and the lights on the tree glittered like little promises. I found the messages by accident. One notification, then another, then a gallery of images that erased every certainty I had about us. The woman I trusted, the one who knew my routines and audited my moods, was someone else's whispered joy in a photo. A dull ache started behind my ribs, not a dramatic scream, but an insistent cold that took over my hands. I stood in the glow of the tree and felt like a fraud in my own life. The rational part of me tried to parse what I saw: context, coincidence, explanation. The rest of me was a child who had just been told the story of Santa Claus wasn't true. I packed a coat over my suit and walked out without a plan, just the need to move, to put physical distance between the apartment and the rawness of that discovery. Chapter 2. The Streets of New York. New York on Christmas Eve is alive and unforgiving. The streets were dressed in holiday finery, windows alight with staged joy. I drifted through the crowds like a ghost. People smiled and held hands and took pictures with Santa. I had none of that warmth. Snow began to fall, not heavy, but enough to make the world feel muffled and dreamlike. I recall the street lamp reflecting in a puddle, my boots sloshing, and the steady pull of 1,000 holiday sounds. My mind replayed the images over and over, compounding the hurt. I will be honest, I didn't notice the light change. I didn't see the car until its headlights were like a small sun coming straight at me. Time stretched thin. Hands grabbed my arm and yanked me back. The world reassembled itself in a rush of motion. I was shaken, breathless, and staring at the person who'd saved me. Chapter 3. The Savior. She looked at me like someone who'd seen enough to understand pain and took it upon herself to do something small and necessary. She introduced herself plainly, and there was no false drama in her voice, just concern. I remember her laugh when I tried to apologize for being careless. It was a brief, surprised sound that broke the ice between us. We went to a small cafe that still served hot coffee and had room by the window. She wrapped my trembling hands around a cup and asked me, almost casually, if I wanted to talk. I didn't want to relive the betrayal, but the warmth of the place and the normalcy of her presence made me say things I hadn't meant to. She listened without judgment and offered no neat solutions, only steady company. That night, we walked through streets lit like stories. She said her name and I said mine. I felt, for the first time that evening, a crack in the hard shell that had formed around me. She invited me, without fanfare, to spend the night somewhere warm and safe. I accepted, more from the need for shelter than desire, but what passed between us that night was a bomb neither of us expected. Chapter 4. A Christmas Shared. We spent Christmas Eve like two people who had missed the usual script and decided to write their own. There was no grand declaration, no rushed intimacy, only conversation, shared stories, and a simple dinner under small lights. I learned about her love of early morning runs and her tendency to collect postcards. She learned how I measured risk and why I found comfort in plans. By midnight, we were sitting by a fire in a modest living room, the city distant beyond the windows. I watched her smile and felt an unfamiliar safety. The hurt from earlier hadn't vanished, but it had room to breathe. In her presence, my anger cooled into quiet reflection. We exchanged small gifts, tokens that mattered more for intent than value. I slept, finally, in a living room couch that felt less like exile and more like pause, as if life had decided to hold its breath and wait. Chapter 5. Fireworks and Promises. The days between Christmas and New Year's moved like a montage. We met, we talked, we walked through neighborhoods I thought I knew but saw with new eyes. On New Year's Eve she suggested a rooftop with a view of the skyline. Fireworks felt appropriate, like loud punctuation to a year that had been full of questions. When the countdown began, our hands found each other without proportion or plan. At midnight, the city exploded in color, and I felt a decisive shift. The loneliness that had been our default was replaced by a startling clarity. I realized that the woman who had pulled me from the road had, without drama, pulled me out of my own rut of certainty and suspicion. I wanted to know her more than I wanted to fix the jagged edges of my old life. Chapter 6: A New Beginning. In the quiet that followed the celebrations, I found the courage to be true to a feeling that had grown quickly and honestly. I invited her to see where I lived, to meet the life I'd built. The mansion felt too large at first, but she made it feel like a home the way sunlight makes a room familiar again. One morning, as winter light pooled across the floor, I took both her hands and told her what I felt. It wasn't theatrical. I told her I loved the steadiness in her eyes, the kindness in the way she moved through chaos, and how she had made a ruined Christmas surprisingly hopeful. I asked her to move in, to build a life together, and then, because the old romantic in me surfaced, I asked her to marry me. She said yes. It was simple, honest, and felt inevitable in a way that surprised me. We had arrived at a decision that was less about fixing the past and more about choosing a future. As she slipped the ring on my finger and I on hers, I understood that sometimes the best stories begin when you think the book has closed. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, give the video a like, leave a comment, and share the video with friends who love holiday romances.